Prandtl seems to be performing exceptionally. Almost all the air flowing towards the fan is gobbled up and accelerated out the back. So far, this one's looking, to me at least, like the best performing fan. I guess we've only looked at one other one, but it's looking good. Looking at the side, it's clear to see that the air is being handled very well. It's being drawn in and accelerated out the back, and we got a reasonably tight flow out the back of this fan. Things get a little more squirrely with the cheese grater. Yeah, the air is still being drawn in and accelerated like you'd expect, but doesn't seem to be doing so very efficiently. And when we look at the side of the fan, that tight flow that the Prandtl had, it's all gone. This fan produces air, or throws air out in a very wide cone. And the things just get worse from there. The whisk just looks like mass chaos. From the front, it seems like there's little to no air being accelerated out the back. Looking at the side, we can see that some air is actually making it through, but mostly just chaotic randomness is afoot. But the weirdest thing is watch this very first puff of air, or puff of smoke, come in. As it passes through the fan, you get this really strange, crazy looking flow pattern out the back. It doesn't instill confidence in cooling performance, but it just looks really cool. Speaking of cooling performance, the Prandtl came in with an average temperature of 80.1 at a room temperature of 21, giving us a delta of 59.1. The cheese grater came in with an average temperature of 81.6 at a room temperature of 21, giving us a delta of 60.6. The Tesla valve came in with an average temperature of 85.6 at a room temperature of 21, giving us a delta of 64.6. And the whisk, well, the whisk got a big DNF. Unfortunately, it didn't move enough air to keep the system from thermally throttling, so yeah, didn't work. Placing the Prandtl in first, the cheese grater in second, the Tesla valve in third, and the whisk in fourth. Now overall this week, there was no movement on the board. However, this week, this video, this fan showdown marks a milestone on the channel, because from here on out, there's no limit on what you can design. You can go all ham on it. But thank you guys for watching. If you want to get involved in the Fan Showdown, I'll leave all the information you need down below. You send all of your STL files to thefanshowdown@gmail.com. You want to follow me on Twitter, send me a picture of a fan you made, go ahead and do that. Like the video, subscribe. We'll see you next time.
I dreaded the thought of my obligations had you not woken. It reminded me of the time in the museum when you fell to the floor. When humans first gazed upon the night sky, did they see stars? A lung, a heart, a hand, an altar in the sky. What is a constellation but a sum of its parts? They didn't see stars. They saw titans. What came first, Henrik? The baby chicken or the egg? Man or God? If man came first, then they'll make God. By doing so, they become one. Every choice you make is a sacrifice. Nothing will stop them. And thus, there never was a choice at all. So it follows. If your choice is an illusion. So too is your sacrifice.
Don't make us force your hand. You can join us willingly, in peace. Smile. Aren't you happy to see your great-grandfather?
To see through your eyes. The world looks no different to me. The mask only fits one way. You can look out, but you cannot look in. When you gaze upon the night sky, what do you see? All this talk and now I have a splitting headache. musty. And nutritious? Now I'm nutritious. I'd get out of here before that big baby shows up. It's looking kind of hungry. Don't you remember? The strong eat the weak, and the strong do eat. Even parasites. those do you have in that jacket? They seem to just spontaneously appear. I don't have any ashtrays, and I know you're not one to litter. That's quite a conundrum you got yourself into. So, I'm assuming, since you haven't said anything, that we're driving in the right direction. Kind of convenient, isn't it? This whole time, I was trying to figure out your secret. And it was me that had it all along. You must feel suspicious of me. You're a hard person to read, Henrik. We're running on fumes here. I might have to switch over to something more sustainable. On a unicycle. Sorry, Henrik. Sometimes I can't help myself. But maybe we can help each other.
Have you ever seen the face of death?
And whether you think you have or you haven't, how could you be sure?
After all, death has a face that takes many forms.
Now I would wager all of us here tonight have seen it without even realizing. We see it on the streets and in the factories, in the pub, at the bottom of a bottle. Huh? Does that sound familiar? Well, I'll tell you, I've seen it. Death came to me in a dream last night. I was taming a 100-foot dragon with just the coarseness of my voice. That's when I saw it. It twisted and twirled towards me. I saw its wicked smile. I heard its wicked laugh. And I tamed that dragon by giving him a name. And in fact, boys and girls, I convinced him to join us here in Dreamland tonight. So without further ado, the incorporeal clown, Percy!
Percy. I thought we changed that.
There's no effective method for dislodging this stuff. No known way of neutralizing or destroying it. There is no method of hastening its half-life. It disrupts the structure of atoms of which all living matter is composed. Much of the mystery surrounding it is maintained by the general public, which is determined to regard it as potent and irresistible as the evil spirits of the Indians. This can be partly explained by man's fear of dangers he cannot sense.
The road is washed out. I would not attempt to cross that stream, considering that I'm currently a bicycle. It's peaceful here. Henrik, look at that. Is that a toad or a frog? I don't know much about amphibians. Ooh. Well, that was short-lived. Looks like he's about to get munched. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? I'm not just a basket case, am I?
Static, stoic, frozen. Not heaven's skies nor caverns below. I see your home, a state of abandon. There is no judgment, only dangers aglow.
Dad?
Your search continues, as does mine.
Should we wait for you?
A word of warning. Get lost. Don't get lost in time.
A road trip souvenir. There's a lot of strange things to encounter out here. And they're not all trustworthy. I just gained a deeper knowledge of amphibians. I really want to be one right now. Not here. Somewhere less dangerous. Ribbit. 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 I'm a frog. And I'm feeling fresh. Nobody else is here, though. And this home, at least the one you remember, it's not here either. The planks in these walls are no more alive than the tree in that yard. We're surrounded by dead wood, encased, waiting for the mortician. Only, that time never comes because you've outlived him. I see why you wanted to escape.
Dad, do you want to start cutting out the dough? I remember when Mom and I would spend a whole Sunday making pierogies. And she would tell me stories about the war. Things I probably shouldn't have heard. But my favorite one was when she told me the story about how you and her met. How you fell from the sky when the skies were still blue. No plane in sight, just a man sleeping in a parachute. And when you landed and they brought you in, she saw your injuries and did her work. And the next morning, when you woke, you looked to her, and the first thing you said was, I love you.
we build? To be part of something greater than ourselves. When you're cast outside the gates, it is dangerous, hostile, dark. If you're not careful, you may find yourself lost. The thing about humans is, when they're lost, they walk in circles. That walk turns into a sprint. That sprint turns into a run. Running full speed. Going nowhere. As we return home, we complete the circle. In the face of our creations, turning to dust. How do we end this?
When I was a child, picking blueberries in the field, my dad would say, when it grows dark and you lost your way, walk towards the light. Over there, on the shoreline, you will be safe. I'll come get you. Remember that.
call this move quantum entanglement. The trick is to do it in secret. If I'm observed, the whole system collapses in on itself. Henrik. Look what you've done. What are we expecting to find over there? Your great-granddaughter won't be waiting. And if she was, would she even recognize you? Would you recognize her? When the facade of flesh and memories change, what makes you so capable? And if you changed like I have, would you recognize yourself? And yet, she could be on the other side of the world. But somehow, you know instantly when something is wrong. That feeling wasn't felt by you alone. If I told you all that I know, you would collapse too. It's not my place to tell you. These are things you'll find on your own.
Every year that passes, he became more quiet. When I look at him, he looks just as he always did. Grown older than him. He remains the same, yet under the skin, he couldn't be more different. Why are you here?
To witness a mortal sin and the consequences of of blood guilt. But also, it's supper time.
Unlike him, I'm still here. You can change that. Bring him back. Let him know she's still here too. Until then, I will protect her.
In exchange,
All that perish.
It was the midst of World War II, where newly developed technology was rapidly being created, deployed, and tested. The Philadelphia experiment was not any routine test. As a fresh recruit to the U.S. Navy, Joseph Greetings was one of the first, one of the few, to witness the paradigm shift that haunts us to this day. You know him as the CEO of Greetings Robotics Corporation, who founded the company with a mandate to restore life as it was before.
Restoration is the primary goal of our benefactors. But we have many goals.
What do you say to those born after 1943? Those born into this new world who believe things are normal. Restoration to them has a different meaning.
It's hard to explain to those who have not lived it. Our mission on board that ship was to make matter invisible. But on our return, we also made visible much more. It was an inevitability. Human scientific curiosity would force us to cross that threshold eventually. But much like nuclear war, the ozone layer, global warming, its discovery also led to the understanding of how it can destroy us.
What do you say to those who are afraid of what's to come?
I tell them, if they're afraid now, it's because they were born into this nightmare. You're living in the shadow world, and who's casting the shadows? Besides, the vast majority is already on board. They welcome these changes. They have faith in us. World governments have faith in us. We know what the best interests are.
The lighthouse. It's making sound. Is it beckoning you? You're going to have to take the stairs this time. But you know what really gets the cardio going? Flapping. Was 1911. Two Canadians took a bow. 54 years too soon. 1943. Employers shot me down. I've already told you that one. 1946. The Demon Core struck twice. Will it strike once more? 1954. The apple was a ruse. My soul, where are you? Do you hear me? I will wander with you. descend to my solitude. Henrik, when was it for you?
Dad?
Greetings, Henrik. You're facing the back of the train. You'll only see your past. Aren't you curious to see your future? The past it is. What is the origin of your problems? Your dissociation from reality. Focus, Henrik. You have the answers. All you need to do is look within. All haunted souls remain on Earth. They fail to go as they came. So when you died, why did you stay? Complicity in war. The advancement of destruction. Furthering the divide between the natural and the industrialized society. These are the weights the man of the past carries. These are the sins that haunt us. As time goes on, the divide grows stronger. You become obsolete in the ever-changing world. Like you, we saw for ourselves the beginning of the end and indebted ourselves to the great reversal. Unlike you, we've changed. We learned our place above the sea and beneath the stars. If we fly too high, the sun will burn us down. Too low, we drown. So why, when we call out the gods, all we hear is silence? It's because, Henrik, we're not enough. We need you too, the man of the past. Your decision carries weight. There is no multiverse with all possible outcomes. There is only one place, one time, one choice. If you choose the right one, you can restore the balance. The burden on your shoulders will be lifted and shared among us all. You will redeem yourself. And most importantly, you will be happy.
Things are just like they were. For a time, I thought I'd never see you again. tell me I'm not dreaming.
If what you want is to live forever, with your memories you cherish most, live here, within the interface.
Is this truly the afterlife? Are you here to stay?
In his eyes is chaos unknown. He hides more than you wish to know. You're not free from guilt either. That's why he preys on you. Capture the devil that haunts you. Cast him to the light. When you see him, are you fearful? Are you scared? If you're not, you've been fooled. When you see him, what do you feel? Within the lighthouse, there is a red button. Press it, and you will make the right choice.
I dreaded the thought of my obligations had you not woken. It reminded me of the time in the museum when you fell to the floor. When humans first gazed upon the night sky, did they see stars? A lung, a heart, a hand, an altar in the sky. What is a constellation but a sum of its parts? They didn't see stars. They saw titans. What came first, Henrik? The baby chicken or the egg? Man or God? If man came first, then they'll make God. By doing so, they become one. Every choice you make is a sacrifice. Nothing will stop them. And thus, there never was a choice at all. So it follows. If your choice is an illusion, so too is your sacrifice.
Don't make us force your hand. You can join us willingly, in peace. Smile. Aren't you happy to see your great-grandfather?
To see through your eyes. The world looks no different to me. The mask only fits one way. You can look out, but you cannot look in. When you gaze upon the night sky, what do you see? All this talk and now I have a splitting headache. Musty. And nutritious? Now I'm nutritious. I'd get out of here before that big baby shows up. It's looking kind of hungry. Don't you remember? The strong eat the weak, and the strong do eat. Even parasites.
Hello.
that they had once spent 80 consecutive years. Representing the Foundation is a number of sites from reality, which she has once or twice, but proceeded to break off a chair leg, wrap it in material.
Well, hello everyone. And on the little paper for the manufacturers, but did hit machines, because it was my understanding there were actually 286 to 360. What? I don't think that's actually a problem of the total microseconds of 1,480. I'm going to say it's jumping around a little bit. 7, and before was 230.
Protagonist for 3 last levels, this time playing as a boss after the character pulls down his pants. The satisfaction is enough of a compromise, but he still has the desires to perform them nonetheless. In 2012, a game called Hotline Miami was released, created by Dennaton, a 2-man team composed of Dennis Vedin and Jonathan Soderstrom, and published by Devolver Digital. What was seemingly just another small indie game took the whole industry by storm, not only earning high scores and accolades across multiple publications, but by inspiring a whole generation of artists, musicians, filmmakers, animators, and game developers. It was stylish, fun, and took an interesting approach to violence in video games that was certainly new for the time. And after the unprecedented success of the game, all eyes were on Dennaton for what they could put out next. What started off as a DLC package, one that would be around the same size of the first game meant to flesh out the story and world of the original, grew into a fully fledged release, one with its own identity and things to say. Hotline Miami 2 came out in 2015 to a much more divisive reception. Some critics found it frustrating, pretentious, and lacking in the charm the original contained. For me, it instantly became my favourite game of all time, and I think a lot of the nuances and subtleties were lost on a lot of people. Even 6 years after its release, I still can't stop thinking about it. In this video, I'll be going over each of the 6 acts, their purpose, the characters within them, the gameplay, and my reading of the game as a whole. But in order to fully understand this game and what it sets out to achieve, we have to go over a brief recap of what happens in the first game. Set in 1989, Hotline Miami follows a silent protagonist, who fans and later the developers have named Jacket. He receives strange answering machine messages telling him to perform random jobs at specific addresses. These locations are actually Russian mafia hotspots, and the objective of each level is to kill everyone inside them while wearing various animal masks. Afterwards, he visits various stores and bars, all operated by the same friendly bearded man, who offers him various things on the house, along with giving some nice conversation. During the first 2/3 of the game, Jacket gains a girlfriend and is visited by masked figures in his dreams, asking him questions about his situation, why he's doing the things he is, and what he hopes to achieve. Flyers and articles scattered across his apartment also hint at the bigger picture that's being presented, yet it's never fully explained. His descent into insanity also increases, with hallucinations appearing frequently and his dreams becoming much more hostile. Then, after the bearded man is killed and Jacket's girlfriend is murdered by another masked assailant, it's revealed the whole game until now was a coma recap of the the past 2 months, our protagonist awakes from the hospital and continues his violent rampages, this time of his own will. The game ends with a showdown between him and the Russian mafia boss, and after assassinating the head of the family, he throws a photo off the balcony and lights a cigarette. The game is not finished after the credits though. In fact, it rewinds to another protagonist for 3 last levels, this time playing as a boss from Jacket's story, known as Biker, in hopes of uncovering what exactly is going on. In this epilogue of sorts, a national conspiracy to damage Russo-American relations is uncovered, that there are multiple people receiving these phone calls all with the same purpose, to kill as many Russians as possible. While this is an in-universe explanation for the events that occur, the game also sets out to explore why people enjoy violent video games, and why people play games in general. If you haven't noticed from the footage yet, Hotline Miami is an incredibly gory and violent game, to the point where it seems like a parody, and on some level it totally is, but it wants to make sure you know how horrible these things are, and make you question why you felt good performing it in the first place. Which brings us to Hotline Miami 2, a game with the goal of not only explaining, furthering, and showing the impact from the events of the first game, but to also explore the nature of video game sequels, how the first game was received, and to take the violence of it to an uncomfortable extreme. And it does so from its very first frame. Immediately, the game confronts the player, asking a question where they draw the line, and for many it was crossed at the opening scene of sexual violence. And I feel it's only fair to give you the same decision the developers give players in skipping this part of the video. There's a timestamp on screen for where to go if you don't want to hear about this, but I do need to discuss it. With context, this is a scene from an in-universe movie based off of the first game, and immediately after the character pulls down his pants, a director yells cut, and the movie set is revealed. When this was presented to journalists in a demo, it gained a lot of headlines claiming it was tasteless, ham-fisted, and misguided. The reception was so bad that it prompted the developers to include a warning and option to skip it. And then afterwards, some publications stated it was chickening out or not sticking to their guns, but I think it actually enhances the product further. The scene is an obvious commentary on both how women are portrayed in video games, and also, as I mentioned, asks the player where they draw the line. It also serves as shock value, setting the unnerving tone for the rest of the game. Once that scene is complete, the game begins proper with Act 1, Exposition. This warm-up act is a full introduction to the game's themes, while giving, as the name suggests, some exposition to the world of Hotline Miami 2. It's also a small microcosm of how you can expect the entire game to play out, with some twisted foreshadowing sprinkled in for good measure. Here we're introduced to 4 of the main characters, Martin, the fans, Pardo, and Jake, all with varying degrees of likability. It's pretty clear who the fans represent, being the fans of the first game who enjoyed the cool aesthetics and fun gameplay, but the other 3 are a bit more shrouded in mystery and can have multiple interpretations. I'll save Pardo and Jake for later, but Martin's story is mostly confined to Act 1, so let's talk about him now. The conversation about the connection between fictional and real-world violence is one that has surrounded video games since Death Race showed stick figures getting run over by a car about 30 pixels large. I'm not here to argue for or against this case, and Hotline Miami 1 explored this concept quite a bit. What I can say with almost certainty though, is that there are definitely people out there who played the first game as a release, and to fulfill those violent urges in a way not many other games do as viscerally. This is where Martin comes in. Starring as the lead role in the aforementioned movie from the tutorial, his motivation for performing as this character being to enact those same fantasies but in a fictional environment. To him, the satisfaction is enough of a compromise, but he still has the desires to perform them nonetheless. As you'll find out over the course of this video, most of the characters in this game serve as metaphors for different concepts in real life, and my reading of Martin is that he serves as an allegory for that subsect of players who couldn't care less about the gameplay and instead focused on the intense gore and violence surrounding it, while also chastising players who didn't fully think about what the question, "Do you like hurting other people?" was really trying to ask. This distance between fictional and real-world violence comes crashing together for Martin. As the act ends, he's killed by a gun on set that has its blanks replaced with real bullets. It's never revealed who replaced them, why or how, but the event's shock and confusion prime the player well for what the rest of the game has in store for them. Then, level 4, titled Execution, happens. Immediately, the amazing music by Perturbator gets the blood pumping, as you see the henchman in a drug-fueled anguish over his girlfriend taking the money he stole in the previous level and leaving him. Timing and direction is hard to pull off in cutscenes that require reading and pressing a button to continue dialogue, but every time I play this stage, the music seems to kick in at just the right time, leading to one of the hypest moments in the game, and, well, I'll just show you. What follows is one of the best levels in the entire series, and developer Dennis Vedin's personal favourite. The tight level design combines both the best elements of Hotline Miami 1 and 2's philosophy to stage crafting, to create the perfect bass-boosted power trip. If you're part of the demographic that the fans represent, this or the following X finale is probably where the game peaks for you. Of course, Hotline Miami 2 is not a game to dwell on this feeling, and in fact punishes it at every opportunity by crashing down into a sense of guilt and dread after every high. If the first game was a drug-fueled rave, the second is that same experience followed by the horrible, dreadful hangover the morning after. This time it's with a painfully detailed and grim torture/murder scene of the henchman. And while it feels more brutal from the regular killings that take place across every level, the only real difference is our attachment to the character we're killing. It serves as a reminder that in this world, these are people. They're not just pixels on a screen for those characters. This feeling of uneasiness is one that stays for the rest of the game. Not always up front, but still present until the very end. You know how I mentioned the design philosophy of both games' level structure just then? Well, let's talk about the difference between them and how it was received. The core gameplay of Hotline Miami can be split into two key skills: puzzle solving and twitch reflexes. Each room requires the player to figure out how to clear it and then perform that solution. It's an ingenious loop that lends itself to infinite replayability with a scoring system and semi-randomized weapons. Even if I know the layout of these levels from the top of my memory, it still feels good to clear them out with a combo meter that can just never seem to get high enough. The first game's level design is a lot more closed, with small rooms densely packed with enemies. You can rely a lot more on your reflexes for most of it, with more enemies that hold melee weapons and tighter walls separating them. This unfortunately led a lot of people to dismiss the idea that it was a puzzle game entirely though, and when 2 rolled around, a lot of the criticism was aimed towards its approach to how levels were structured and how much more difficult it became to mindlessly tackle them. With Hotline Miami 2, levels are a lot more open-ended, with long corridors that enemies can shoot you off screen from. And as the game is longer, of course it will eventually get harder than the original, which means harder puzzles. Puzzles that some people might not even acknowledge exist. It can be frustrating at times, but I think that's intentional. Jonathan Soderstrom is a staunch believer in the games don't have to be fun to be good philosophy of design, and I completely agree. The medium allows itself to so many emotions that can be explored, and more intensely due to the interactivity of it. So when you get killed by an enemy off screen, is it bad design, or is it the game trying to send home a point? This point could be so many things too. It could be to show how much the odds are stacked against some of these characters. It could be to make you question if you really do enjoy this violence when the playing field is equal. I don't think I'm being pretentious here when this is my answer to the saying,
if it's not fun, why bother?
And I honestly wish more people would open up to the idea that a game being quote-unquote fun is not the same as it being playable and well made. Okay, that went into a bit of an offhand rant there. Let's move on to Act 3 before I come across as even more of a pompous art-ho than I already do. Act 3 starts off with the main protagonist finally being introduced, Beard.